Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, from single mum to TV host and serial entrepreneur, the remarkable journey of Dr. Ginni. We get the lowdown on AI detection, plus find out how to beat the burnout blues. G'day and welcome to a special episode of Kochie's Business Builders, where we'll be taking a deep dive into the entrepreneurial journey of one of Australia's most trusted doctors. From healthcare professional to entrepreneur to TV host, Dr. Ginni Mansberg has been a fixture on Aussie TVs for many years. She's the Sunrise GP, so I know her pretty well. The host of TV shows Embarrassing Bodies Down Under and Medicine or Myth. She's a best-selling author, a podcast host, and serial entrepreneur. Ginni also is the co-founder of E.S.K, a science-backed skincare brand she created with her husband and the co-creator of Don't Sweat It, an online course that helps workplaces better support perimenopausal and menopausal women. Plus, she is a mum of 3 and an outspoken advocate for better health for everyday Aussies, and in 2022 was named Australia's most trusted health professional. Ginni, good to see you. Welcome to my show.
I know, how good is this?
A serial entrepreneur. You always have had that spark to you. Where did it come from?
But I'm one of those people who's got like ideas popping on, popping off all the time. But to a certain extent, as you know, you can't just have the ideas, you've got to have the implementation piece as well. And there's nothing like being pretty povo and actually needing some money to make you get off your backside and convert your ideas into something that can actually make you some income.
Yep. So a lot of people pivot their careers and extend it for a whole range of reasons. Often it's a life-changing experience. What happened to you?
So actually what happened was tragically getting divorced. So if anybody has ever been divorced, it's a really life-changing event in a lot of ways. But for me, particularly financially, and for the first time, I would actually have panic attacks, as I would have to pay an electricity bill or pay the rent for another week. And I had 3 children. I didn't want their lives to change too much. I needed to make some money, and I needed to make it pretty quickly. So I needed to find, I needed to spreadsheet for the first time my entire life out and exactly what I would need to survive and ultimately go forward and save up and buy a house, and what I would actually need to earn. And so that just put a rocket up there.
So it was an absolute reboot of your life. But also you work for an old mate of mine, Joe Hockey in Canberra.
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did that fit into that spreadsheet?
So the first thing I had to do was find a full-time job as soon as I got divorced. And I was like, I've seen Joe talking to Kochie on Sunrise. He seems like a nice guy. I've watched The West Wing. What more could there be to possibly know about working in politics? I learnt an enormous amount working for him. I still am friends with him. I still, think so highly of him. Canberra, not so much. Very happy to never be part of politics again. They're not like the people in the West Wing at all, as it turns out.
No, it is very different. But also, you've got a journalism degree as well. Many people may not know that.
I really did need to find some work that I could do from home, because I was really struggling just to manage daycare and getting into the surgery. Luckily for me, I got into medicine on all my humanities marks. I was a pretty good writer. I was always interested in writing. And I'm interested in stories, in people's stories, which is ultimately what journalism is really all about.
Yep.
And I felt like that communication piece would be a really good addition, and I could do it from home.
A bit like money, people's basic human emotion to money is fear. Fear of making the wrong decision, fear of losing money. I think it's the same with medicine and health. It's a fear of going to the doctor in case the news is bad. So you mix that medical health background with better communication, and that's a pretty powerful double.
Look, it is. I think doctors can feel like the best way to communicate is to just go into medical speech and just kind of baffle you with big words and scientific words. And also there's this tradition of talking down to people and sort of telling them this is what you shall do. What we've got to be doing is listening to people, hearing their stories, understanding them, and tailoring our advice in a way that they can understand to what they need.
And communicating well, which is the secret to your success on TV and Sunrise, and that's why we loved having you for years. It's a fascinating journey so far. We'll be back with more from Ginni after the break. Coming up, how to prioritise your mental health when the cost of doing business is on the rise, plus the AI detection tools you need to know about.
G'day folks, Tracy Sheen, the Digital Guide, back with another tech tip. This time we're talking about AI detection. Now, everybody's out there talking about ChatGPT and how cool it is to create content within our business, and it is, but how do we know if something has been created by AI or if it's been written by a human? Well, lucky for you, there's platforms out there that you can use like originality.ai that will detect AI from the content for you. And what you do is you copy, paste your text into the platform and it will tell you whether something has been written by AI and what the percentage of that content has been written by AI. Now, what we know right now is these platforms work better on longer form content. So if you want to try and hack the system perhaps, keep your content really short. AI detection tools, good thing to know about. Stay curious, keep learning, keep playing. I'll see you again soon.
Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Well, the impact of financial stress on business owners has been amplified over the past year as economic pressures and the cost of doing business continue to rise. And the result has been a decline in mental health across the board. The June 2023 MYOB Business Monitor found that in the last 12 months, running a business has caused 51% of small business owners stress and 36% anxiety. Meanwhile, 55% agreed that running a business has had a direct impact on their feelings of anxiety. And a third of business owners said financial concerns and cash flow are the top mental health challenges that they face. So supporting workplace wellbeing and small business mental health has never been more important. Ginni, as a small business owner, we can relate to what everyone's going through. What are the signs that you need to look out for that stress is getting on top of you?
Not sleeping would be a big one. Not wanting to do things that previously gave you pleasure. So you used to enjoy seeing friends, going out. You don't want to do that anymore. Drinking more is another really insidious one. You don't realise that when you come home every day going, I could really just do one little glass of wine, but it ends up being half a bottle. That's the sort of thing that you would be alert to, that you're maybe getting more stress than is healthy.
So how do you manage that?
Look, it's different for everyone. I mean, there's obviously the external things, so you can actually try and fix your business, maybe get a consultant in, get somebody in who knows what they're talking about in terms of cash flow and income statements, and make sure that you're not getting out over your skis in terms of what you're spending and you're not trying to do too much too quickly, that sort of thing. Or you can go internally. So I would say that exercise is underestimated as a stress buster. A lot of people think if I can't go to the gym, if I can't do a Pilates class, if I can't go lift weights at an F45 class, it's all over Red Rover. Exercise can be anything, and it can be at a time that suits you. And I would also prioritise your sleep. If you are not sleeping properly, I can't even tell whether you're anxious or not. I can't do that assessment.
Isn't that interesting? I've been fortunate, just been on a trip hanging out with Richard Branson. Don't want to drop names or be a tosser, but I'm fascinated how people like him balance their life. And his key advice was, don't regret anything in the past and the stresses of the past. Always look forward. And he exercises constantly. That were backing what you up, exactly what he does.
Yeah, in terms of ruminating on what you did and what you could have done differently, that's human nature. So it's very hard to stop doing that. But I guess if you have that open kind of learning framework in everything that you do, everything can be seen as, okay, how do I not get there again? What were my options? What did I not see? What were the red flags? And if you can do some post-hoc analysis, then you can actually leverage what's happened to you in the past to move forward in your future.
Can you build better resilience?
Yes, I mean, you can definitely build better resilience, but you've got to be starting with an open-minded learning framework. Because if you say, I'm old enough and ugly enough now, I've been there, I've done that, I've seen it all, and you're not open to thinking about things in a different way, then there's no way you can build resilience, there's no way you can build anything. You've got to be always learning.
And be socially connected.
Yeah.
Ginni, great advice. More of Ginni coming up. Passion meets purpose. Why science and skincare make a perfect match. Plus a wellness expert's tips for surviving burnout.
Hi, I'm Vesna Herster. I am a peak performance coach and a naturopath, and today I'm going to share my tips to go from burnt out to feeling like your best. The first tip is to reduce stress in your schedule. So I always get my clients to create a to-do later list. And what that looks like is looking at your priorities, the things that need to be done immediately and have the biggest impact to your business, marking them as the #1 priority, and then everything else goes on your to-do later list. Next is the power of 8 before 10. This is really prioritizing your sleep and making sure that not only that you get 8 hours of sleep, that you're getting to bed by around 10 p.m. And the reason why this is so important is because it aligns with your circadian rhythms, and it means that we get more deep sleep if we're going to bed by 10, and it's much more restorative and will help to recharge the body and reduce stress. Nutrition for gut health is also important for burnout recovery because we know that our gut and our brain are linked. So what we eat affects our mood via the microbiome inside the gut. So eating foods that are high in vegetables will help to nourish the microbiome, reducing the foods that are like sugary foods and processed foods, which will have a negative impact on the microbiome.
Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Today we're chatting with an old mate, Dr. Ginni Mansberg. Ginni, we talked about your personal journey, but this entrepreneurial spirit, where did that come from? Was it innate in you right from the start?
Absolutely not. #1, I was raised by a lawyer and a teacher, and so nobody spoke around the dinner table about numbers or what makes, a good business or what makes a bad business. #2, I was born a girl in the 60s. It's slightly icky to want money.
Yeah, okay. So I can understand you going into podcasts and media and being a medical commentator. Skincare, E.S.K skincare was your first business.
Yeah.
What drove that?
I have always had terrible skin, and as you know, when you're on television, they'd sort of have to cake on makeup that thick to get over all the lumps and bumps and the redness, and then you'd have to take it off. So your skin was just permanently getting worse and worse and worse. But then we would do segments on what to look for in anti-aging skincare. Now, I would go to my source of truth, which is the National Library of Medicine. National Institutes of Health in America actually publish every single peer-reviewed journal article in the world. And I would talk on air about vitamin C and the best way to have your vitamin C, and then I would be flooded by emails and direct messages on social media saying, yeah, but what brand, what should I be using? So I thought I better find out because I probably need it for my skin as well. And I went trawling through, I'm not kidding, I scoured David Jones and Maya, could not find the evidence that I was unearthing in the studies that I was reading in a product. I would talk about this with Daniel, my husband, who is a numbers guy, and genetically, completely and utterly to his core, a spreadsheeter and a fabulous finance guy. And he was saying, you cannot be right. This is a very crowded market. And I said, yeah, but there's no one doing it from science. There's no one marrying up the science, the evidence. And so we just decided to do it.
So how did you cope with that? Because it's very different talking about it to actually manufacturing it, distributing it, coping with growth.
When we looked at a path to market, you need to have a reasonable amount of sort of capital, not only to put into the manufacturing and cost of goods sold, but also for marketing. So if you want to go to somewhere like David Jones and put something on their shelf, they'll say, how much are you going to pay us and show us your marketing plan. Well, we didn't have a marketing plan, we didn't have the money. Both of us were newly divorced povos, we just had no money. So we decided to partner with friends of ours who are plastic surgeons, dermatologists, develop the range and private label for plastic surgeons, dermatologists, dermatologist. We ran it from our son's bedroom while he went on a gap year after HSC.
So where did you manufacture it?
So you just book a manufacturing run, you get a formulation chemist to actually do the formulation for you, and then you book your production run. We just had specific ingredients that were very difficult to get. So for example, with vitamin A, a lot of companies use retinol, which is quite an old school ingredient now, and you need to use a lot of it so that a very small amount can actually be active inside the skin. The second step from that is called retinal with an A. That is more expensive than gold. It needs to be transported from the factories at minus 20 degrees Celsius from the factory in Europe to the factory in Australia. You need an importing licence to get that. That's not easy to get. So we did all of that.
So the professionals became your distributors.
Correct.
You didn't go mass market.
But that business became revenue positive, or, profitable within a month. So we realised that if you could scale that to about 75 brands, at that point you'd have diminishing returns. So at that point we'd launch our own brand.
Obviously, the skills between you and Daniel are just poles apart, but together, perfect for running a business.
I think we innately had an enormous amount of respect for each other and for each other's minds and the way we did things. We also do have a growth mindset, so we do like to binge on business podcasts and ebooks and things like that.
More of Ginni coming up after the break. She spills the beans on secret women's business. Welcome back to Kochie's Business Builders. Today, we've been chatting with Dr. Ginni Mansberg about her story from GP to TV host to entrepreneur. Ginni, you're passionate, one of your passion projects, apart from your books and all your skincare and things like that, you've partnered with your former host on things you can't talk about on TV, Shelley Horton, another old mate, to start a new business, Don't Sweat It, it's called. Tell us about that.
So I've been fascinated by menopause for a long time. I'm very interested in midlife women. But when the European Menopause Society actually released data in 2021 in the middle of the pandemic that 10% of women were quitting work altogether because of menopause, an additional 14% were cutting their hours or going part-time, another 8% were either asking for a demotion or rejecting a promotion. And the fact that the Australian Institute of Superannuation Trustees says that menopause costs women between $17 and $35 billion a year in Australia by lost revenue and lost super, there is a case there not only to help women stay employed by helping their employers get on board, but help employers retain midlife women who are often at the top of their game. They're the mentors, they're the champions inside their workplaces. We thought it's a win-win. No one was doing it in Australia, let's do it.
Isn't that fascinating? Because workplaces are so aware of maternity leave and new mums, childcare issues for when the kids grow up. But when the kids are gone and it's middle-aged or elder women, no one talks about the issues there at all. Why not?
I think there's this stereotype that menopause happens to like old ladies in pearls and they're irrelevant and, they just have a hot flush and take the cardigan off. But in fact, they're women in their 40s who are going through this because 1 in 3 will have a mental health issue around this time. It is actually the highest risk time for mental health problems for women of their life, so much higher than postnatal.
For all of us business owners watching and listening to this, what do we need to do?
So I think having a menopause policy is probably the evidence-based way to go about it. Just having educational opportunities within the workplace that people can pick and choose from and actually take the education that they want out of the organisation increases retention, increases intention to stay, and increases product.
Policy, what should that include?
Look, not menopause leave. So we've done the research now that's mostly been led out of Monash University. It doesn't do anything for women and it certainly doesn't do anything for organisations to add another 12 days of paid leave. All it's going to do is chase people like us away from employing midlife women. It's having access to education, really simple things like having access to a desk fan if you want it. And the other thing that's really cheap is just having sanitary products in the bathrooms. I know that can be really hard in an organisation where there's shared facilities and there's like 18 different offices that are sharing one set of bathrooms. But if you can...
But everyone should be open-minded these days to that sort of thing.
I used to talk about this with organisations. They go, everybody's going to pilfer the tampons. No one bloody pilfers the tampons. All that happens is, if you have to do the walk of shame to the bathroom and go, oh gosh, that's arrived like 3 weeks early or 6 weeks late, I didn't expect it, and it's really heavy, because 1 in 3 women have a really heavy issue when they're having a period, they don't have to go do another walk of shame back to the desk to go and find something, or worse, go to the 7-Eleven and go and buy something. There's actually just something there in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it makes, at those moments that matter, where the workplace can either step up for you or let you down, knowing that your workplace cares about you makes the biggest difference in terms of intention to stay.
And as you say, that cohort is often your most loyal staff members and the most experienced, and really important to your culture as well. Ginni, it's been fascinating catching up out of Sunrise and out of just plain medical stuff. Thanks for joining us and sharing not only your health tips, but also your entrepreneur tips as well. Good to see you.
You too.
Now, if you want to find out more about Ginni's skincare brand, check out the website E.S.K.care.com, or if you're a business owner and you want to deliver more inclusive policies for the women in your business, check out don'tsweatit.com.au, and of course head to ginni.com.au if you want to find out more about what Ginni is up to. And remember, if you are looking for small business tips or the latest news and expert advice, then you can find them online 24/7 at kochiesbusinessbuilders.com.au, or follow Kochie's Biz on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta and X, which is the new Twitter. See you next time. Next week on Kochie's Business Builders, we meet the entrepreneur whose life-changing apparel has changed women's lives. Find out how AI can help you get off the content creation treadmill, plus viral tips for your social media.